grow your business? We help you grow your business. Today, we are excited to invite you to the Connectional America exclusive business networking event, powered by the fast-growing, popular podcast, the American Business Podcast for the Next Generation ABP. This exclusive business networking event is an online event. You can connect online anywhere in the world. Join us. Meet with business professionals, executives, and leaders. Introduce yourself, your company, your products, and your services to other businesses. Make meaningful business connections, expand your professional network, and grow your business. This exclusive business networking event will be moderated by the founder and host of the American Business Podcast, Kevin Devecioglu. Limited seating. Register today. Visit www.americanpodcast.tv to register today. Registration link is listed in description as well. Attendee contact list will be shared. We help you grow your business. Hope to see you there. Register today. This is the American Business Podcast for the Next Generation, ABP, with Kevin Devecioglu. ABP is a popular business podcast with thousands of subscribers on YouTube. The American Business Podcast community is growing fast. Thank you for your support. Subscribe ABP's YouTube channel today. The American Business Podcast is coming to you from the center of the global business world, New York City, with new educational business content is coming to you every week. Visit the official website for more information and corporate sponsorship opportunities at www.americanpodcast.tv today. Now, the American Business Podcast ABP's new episode is starting.
Hello, welcome to the American Business Podcast. I'm Kevin Devecioglu, your host. We have a great group of professionals today, and we're going to have a very educational, informative business podcast today in American Business Podcast for the next generation. We have a lot to cover, so I'd like to invite our guest to our virtual stage. Beth, our producer, if you can invite our guest, that'd be great. All right, great. So we have Jamie Austin with us from PSP Turnkey Solutions, and we have Dan Stiglitz with us from SaaS Worldwide Company. So together we have a lot to cover, and let's get started. Jamie, Dan, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Kevin.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
I appreciate it. How are you guys doing? How was your week so far? Let's banter a little bit.
So far, so good. And it's sunny out. Pool is blue. I'm ready to go.
Yep, it's Friday and we're ready for the weekend.
Sounds good. Well, if that's okay, let's start with introductions to our audience. Jamie, let's start with you, if that's okay. Would you please introduce yourself and your company to our audience so that they can know about you? Thank you.
I'm Jamie Austin, and I am the Director of Business Development for PSP Turnkey Solutions. We are a solutions provider. We have a class of 45 vendors who work with us, and we bring solutions to companies. But I'm here today, I think, more under the guise of Austin Travel, a family business, and where I worked with my father and brothers for 30 years.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yes, we have a lot to talk about, especially family business is the main subject matter today. So we are looking forward to hearing your insights. How about you, Dan? Would you please introduce yourself and your company to our audience?
Sure. Dan Stiglitz, CS Worldwide. Jamie and I have known each other way too many years. We're going to have some fun today. But CS Worldwide, we are process improvement, data transformation, and automation specialists helping companies become more efficient and effective. We always say all roads lead back to accounting, so we help you implement accounting software, ERP software, CRM, all the buzzwords. And in order to do this, we take a holistic view. We look at how companies do their processes, everything from sales to shipping or delivery of service and everything in between. All roads lead back to accounting, so we make sure of that. We do that with our partners like Kevin and Kerr Consulting to come in. And back in pandemic years, Jamie and I joined forces to create the PSP Turnkey Solution. First to help my clients, and then we found out that our solution providers wanted to help each other. So we spun off and made Jamie our business development officer. He's doing a fabulous job.
Well, thank you very much. And just to stay with that, we're family because I've known him since, as you say, back in high school, so it goes back a long time. And his brother and I were even roommates for many years. Well, another story for another day. But to talk about CAS and PSP, I like to say that he goes and finds the companies and identifies their problems, and I come in and help them implement their solutions. So it really is very much a family for the two of us.
Can you tell us about your work a little bit? How did you decide to choose your current careers? Jamie, maybe we can start with you.
Well, actually, I'm glad you asked, how did I choose? So, um, well, my father started a business back in 1955. And so from a very young age, I always like to say from the age of 4, I had decided I wanted to go into the family business. And in fact, I used to sign my high school yearbook because I made my father take out an ad, and it would say, Larry Austin, president. And I would put my name underneath it and say, Jamie Austin, president in training. So I always wanted to go into the family business. And sure enough, graduated on Sunday. And by Wednesday, I was at work. How's that?
Well, sounds exciting. How about you then?
So I was also geared, led by my dad, who was a CPA, and said to me when I was back in college, and considering doing this thing called computers, which back then were very big, very costly, and I wanted to do something with business and computers. And he said, "Get your CPA. You can do whatever you want." And that was very wise decision. So I went through college, got my CPA, went into private companies, CFO, controller, and then I decided because most of the businesses I was with were family owned, I didn't like watching other people's money, but I liked helping them. So then I branched out to be able to help them better their business by doing process improvement and implementing accounting systems, which brought me back to computers.
Can you tell us about your work? What are the exciting and challenging parts of your work in general? Jamie?
Well, again, I love how it described for my life here as PSP, which really relates back to what I used to do back in Austin Travel. Is Dan finds the problems and I fix the problems, and that to me is my greatest joy. And that's one of the things I did back in my Austin Travel days, is identified where we were lacking, and I love to implement new programs, new technologies, look for ways to improve what we were doing to make us more efficient and ultimately more profitable.
How about you then? What are the
So
exciting and challenging parts of your work?
the exciting part of my work is I enjoy going into companies and educating them to the ways that can make them more efficient and effective. And usually I come into a company that's hit a roadblock, maybe some bumps. Management can't seem to get the right information from their systems, from their people, and they're frustrated. And my favorite or best client would be one when I come out and I lay out the process of what we've done, give them a roadmap for change, and they come back to me and go, I knew everything you said as I read your report, but I could never put it into words like you did and find a way out. I always thought it was one person was giving me a problem or one application was giving me a problem. You took a holistic view of everything and were able to open my eyes to the next, what I have to do next.
Well, I like to shift our conversation towards family-owned businesses. So, what makes a family-owned business different from other businesses? Also, what are the typical challenges that you see in family-owned businesses that you can share with us?
That's easy. First one is it's family, and you have to remember that your boss may be your father or your brother or your cousin, and that you know you may be sitting across the table from them Thanksgiving, dinner, and they got to remember that. You got to remember that no matter what happens, no matter how much you fight or disagree during the day, you still go home to family at night, or vice versa. You might be fighting at home, but you got to work together at the office. So that's always a big thing. Another thing that I've always felt is roles and responsibilities. and that is to be clear, what are the roles? We did a very good job with that within our company back in those days. Now, I had two brothers, and so we actually at one point put a roadmap of where we were, as we'll call it, as junior managers in the company, and where we ultimately needed to how we would ultimately get to be the senior management of the company. And it was a 10-year plan. And I can tell you what was real amazing is we pulled it out 10 years later, and we were exactly where we were supposed to be. So, well, to give you an idea, my one brother ran our operations. So he was in the front end with the clients. I was, at one point, I ran accounting. And then at one point, a little bit of a change, I went into sales. And so that was my focus, was client services. And then my third brother was handling all of our technology. And so each of us had a lane, and each of us knew what our job was, and each of us was a working manager within the organization. So it was very important that we had these well-defined roles and responsibilities, so that, we didn't step on each other's toes. Another thing is, like I said, planning, and that we did a good job with doing that and planning it. And then the last thing, which is an interesting challenge, well, there's always many more, is compensation. That's always a sore point. You ask the question, is if there are family members working in the business and there are family members not, how do you compensate? How do you inherit? And so we had a difference of opinion. My father was very interested. He thought that one of us had to be identified as a leader and they should get paid more. And the three of us, because we felt comfortable with each other and had specific roles, even though we were maybe different titles, we all agreed that we would equally compensate ourselves. So as far as I know, we were all paid the same every year.
Yes. So, yeah, these are pretty important points. How about you, Dan? What do you think in terms
So,
of
I want to
family businesses?
dovetail on that he's talking about roles and responsibilities. Because when we go into a company, whether it's a family-owned business or a regular business, but more importantly, when it's a family-owned business, is what we call the accountability chart. So everybody can be given a role and a responsibility of what to do, but who's accountable? Who's accountable for what? And by being accountable, what does that mean? That means that you are ultimately held responsible. It doesn't mean you're doing the work, but you are held responsible. You're the top throat to choke if anything goes wrong. And we find in family businesses, sometimes the people that are put in a role or given a title aren't the ones held accountable. And that creates animosity within the company and issues with employees who are working with this person. So we try and help clients see that for what it is and assign the right role to the right person. We always talk about right seats, right people. We got to make sure that we have the right seats and the seats fit the person's behind, so they know what they're supposed to do.
What is the right time to? Yes.
I would say, can I just jump in on that for one
Yes,
thing?
please.
I said it just earlier. I ran the accounting department for quite a few years, and then I was being critical of the company. Now here we were, we had gone from my father running a business to now having three sons in the business. So now there were four families to be supported. And from the accounting standpoint, I was looking at it and saying, well, we can't support everybody as we've come to live at the current level. We need to grow. We need to get bigger. We need to be more profitable. And so one day I got called into my father's office and he said, congratulations. You're now the vice president of sales. That's how I changed jobs. And so sometimes, you got to put your money where your mouth is, or someone's going to put it there for you.
How long was that transition period, Jamie? I know you say one day, but you were now responsible for two operations within the organization.
Well, no, I actually, at that point, when I did transition over, my first role was to find my replacement in accounting. So I got somebody for accounting, and then I went out. Tell you how long ago that was. I went out and I bought a pager and a cell phone so that I had communication. But it was a very significant change, but a very unique perspective. So here I was, and Dan comes from that accounting side. I was the accountant, so I was the cost, the budget controller. I was the cost reducer. I was always looking for how do we reduce our expenses, how do we save money, and now I'm in sales, and that's not what the sales guys think. So here I was now on the other side of the fence saying, we got to spend money. We got to advertise. We got to promote. You need to buy me things and tools so that I can go out and I can sell this to people. A little bit of a change, but the beauty of it is having had the accounting background, I understood the idea of ROI, and that as I would buy something, it needed to have value. It needed to give us a return. I couldn't just go out and buy something just for the fun of it. No toys. No, I had lots of toys.
I have a funny story about something similar with sales and titles and roles.
Mhm.
I have an affiliate of mine that when I first met him 20 years ago, I knew he owned the company, but on his card it said Vice President Sales. So I said, "You're the vice president. Who's the president?" He goes, "Well, I am." I go, "So why don't you put yourself out that way?" He goes, "Because if something goes wrong, I got to blame somebody. So I blame the president." Now, nobody knows who the president is, but I do. So, nobody in accounting would do that. They'd want to be the CFO and put themselves out there and not blame anybody. But in sales, sometimes you need a little scapegoat.
What is the last time? What is the best time actually to have an independent board, and just professional team, and then family members can be in the board, right? Then you can have an independent executive committee and executives, for example. What is the right term for it? You will say.
Oh, that's an interesting question. And while we never had a formal independent board, we were obviously a private company. We did have a team of advisors, and they changed over time. Um, and they were very helpful. They were very helpful to us for a variety of reasons, because they gave us great insight, and a view from outside looking in, and taking it, looking at what we were doing. And they were able to hold us more accountable than ourselves. And so that was that. So I don't think it's ever a bad time to have at least some sort of advisory board. Somebody, especially in a family business, especially when there's multiple generations or multiple family relatives, to have somebody outside who just kind of keeps you honest.
And listen to them. Most often
Well,
we put people in place. And again, it's that role of accountability. It's like if you hired somebody like me to give you advice on how to change, how to move forward, don't put that in the drawer. Use it, because that's what you paid for.
Kevin, I'll give you another little spin on that one, and that was,
Sure.
as I mentioned, I came right out of college, right into the company business. My brother, my older brother, wanted to go work for somebody else. My father wanted us to go work for somebody else before we came to him, and nobody would hire him because they all knew that it was within the industry. They all knew that he was going to go work for his father, and so he ended up coming to work for us. But I still stay with that. Is my father was right in that it's a good idea for us to come out of college and go work for somebody else for a little bit of time. But I'll tell you why. Because if you go to work for your father, then you pick up his bad habits and you perpetuate them, and you don't bring anything new to the table. But if you go outside and you learn other ways of doing things, you now bring knowledge into the family that you would not have gotten anywhere else. And so, because I didn't, I just repeated all my father's mistakes.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Also, if you can share some success stories or best practices, doesn't have to be your company necessarily, maybe in general, in terms of an ideal family business, being operated, uh, to manage the operations as well as the company strategically. Are there any, just use cases that you can share with us?
Well, I was thinking about that when I was preparing for this, and the greatest success story we had is that it raised four families if you count my father. My mother, my parents were able to raise three children on this business, and that business was able to provide for many years for those three kids and their families, which now grows to 10 grandchildren and growing as my children get old and get married, and I now start to have grandchildren. So the success is that we survived as a family, and we still like each other still. I know you're looking for business stories. We had many of those. We grew the business very nicely over the years, and we were highly regarded within the industry for our integrity, our work ethic, and for the work we did. So again, the idea that we are fondly remembered to this day. I still have people that come up to me and they say, I used to buy my travel from you. I mean, we're talking people 30, 40 or so years ago. Oh, I remember those well. Our company used you. You guys were great. In fact, I even saw one of those like memories on Facebook one day that somebody posted about my father and our family. That's a success story.
That's true.
Nice.
Dan, any insights from you?
Yeah. So again, when I was working for companies, and I'm not the consultant I am today, I worked for a steel distributor, pretty large, and they brought in family to help them start the business, and then they had the family in the business, and they never changed their attitude, which for them wasn't good. Which is, it was two brothers, but one of the brothers was more patriarchal than the other, and when he wanted to move the business out of New York and take it somewhere else, he forgot to ask people like his brother what he thought. And what happened is, when I went up to the brother, because they moved to the offices from New York to Florida, and I actually went with him to Florida. But when I was thinking of going, I asked the brother, who is only a 5% owner, so where are you going to live in Florida? He goes, I'm not. Why would you think I would go with my brother? This is business. It's not personal. He decided to do this, and that's his prerogative. And so sometimes you have to think, as Jamie said right in the beginning, you got to be able to go to home, you got to go to Thanksgiving dinner, you got to be able to deal with these people, not just in the business, but out of the business too. And again, this is not a success, but it's best practice to watch. At the end of the day, unfortunately, they wound up in court, suing each other over various different things. And, you never want that to happen. So remember, business is business and personal is personal. And treat your family business like it's a business, and don't take advantage.
That's a good one. Treat it like a business.
I'd like us to talk about a little bit more about AI, if that's okay. Let's shift the conversation a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So,
Talk about
so many businesses, they implement AI in some form. They get software, they get different technologies. So it is real. It's in practice, in different forms, different capacities. What is your take? How AI will change family-owned businesses and business practices in general?
Well, I'm going to jump on that one by
All
saying
right.
this is definitely something that I, as a family business, would refer to Dan as a process improvement specialist.
Thank you. So it's funny. I was at a networking meeting this morning of lawyers and accountants, and the featured speaker was a Stony Brook University grad student talking all about AI and being very truthful and impactful in what he said. And, kind of, when I say truthful, giving us the lowdown that, there are some myths with AI and there are some not myths, but we got to get away from it. Like, is AI always not reliable? And he said it all depends upon what you do. But the long or short of it, and as we always say, artificial intelligence, automation of process, if you really don't understand how to do it manually, then you can't use artificial intelligence. You can't use automation, because if it makes a mistake it's going to happen every time. So you have to have the safeguards built in, the controls built in to watch it. And on top of that, so we were talking to a small law firm who has brought up many times that he's always short-staffed. He's always bogged down by the fact that he does a lot of menial task work and can't manage the business properly. And so this time he got up and he goes, I want to tell you, I've been using AI for some tasks and it freed up a lot of time. And I countered him and said, so does that mean now you're going to forego the bringing in of a staff member because you think you have this handled? And he goes, I didn't think about it that way, but I'm getting a lot more comfortable with what I can do, but I still don't know how to delegate. And AI has taught me not to delegate, which is bad. It's bad for me. It's bad for my professional company, as I should be delegating and aspiring to run it as a business owner and not as one of the lawyers that are here. So we have to look at the good and bad in anything we bring in. And AI is definitely good when it's used properly, and definitely bad, not from the fact that it's going to take over, but I think you said it. You continue to have those bad habits. One of the things that the grad student said was, you need to learn how to train your AI, right? Just like you would train a staff member. And so people don't realize that, and they think they're going to bring in an AI tool, and they think it knows better than them because it was built to do this task. So they're going to let it run, and it's going to learn bad habits, and it's going to do the wrong things for you, and you're not even going to know.
So that is, as a family businesses are going to lag behind in implementing AI. And let me see if I can elaborate on that a little bit. So think of yourself as a 2 or 3 generation of family members in the business. Number one, let's call it, in my case, the founder or the senior generation. They're going to hold on too long. That's a standard operating practice. Is I owned it, I built it, it's my baby. Yeah, you're my children, but this is my baby, and they're not going to leave. And so one of the things I always talk about is in family business is the need to transition sooner than later. So taking the fact that the family is going to transition slower, that means that the senior generation is still in the leadership dominant position. Now you say, well, they're not going to be well versed in something like AI. They're not going to capture it and implement it quickly. That's where, if you're a successful family business, you recognize this, you implement change, and you turn the tables. And one of the things that we did not do that I would have liked to have seen done is I would have liked to have seen my father sell the business to my brothers and me, and we use that money. It's rather than him taking a salary. I know this is kind of a tangent, but rather than him taking a salary, he gets a payout. But what that means is that we then had to be the responsible parties. And I now look at my children, and at my age and my position, and they look at me like, you don't know what it is. I don't know about TikTok and Twitch and whatever. So if I was running the business today, I would be falling behind. So you talk about AI in the family business. If you're going to recognize that, you got to recognize that you need to transition. You need to let the next generation take over, and you need to let them make changes a little bit more rapidly than you might be comfortable with.
In addition to what we talk about, I love to also learn about your role models. Have you ever had any role models? Do you have any role models that you can share with our audience?
I do. I have 2. Obviously, working in a family business, my father is my role model, and Dan can be, can vouch for the fact that much of what I learned, much of what I do today comes from him, and he was a good teacher, and I hope that I was a good student for that. The other one You'll laugh at this, is one of our advisors, and he was the shortest, smartest, and funniest man I ever met. And he could, in the fewest words, express something that it would just take me forever, as you can see here, take me forever to explain. He could just, in 5 words or less, hit it on the head. And I admired this man to the end.
How about you then? Any role
So,
models?
yeah, my role model came from the networking community. Somebody I networked with for quite a
I
few
thought it
years.
was going to be me.
Well, then we networked together. Yeah, but you aren't my role model. Sorry. So when I was working for a company and I was frustrated with what was occurring at the company, and again, they were family-owned businesses, so I'm like, I just can't. As being not part of the family, I can't see myself helping them anymore because they don't listen, because they're more concerned about the family, building a family up. And he took me to lunch one day and he said, "What do you want to do?" And I go, well, I don't know. I get another job. He goes, "Why would you want to do that? You just told me you want to go out and run your own business. So go and do it." And he pushed me hard and he stayed with me for 5 years as an advisor. And that's how I was able to build CS Worldwide. So that really worked well.
How about some lessons learned? So both of you, you have decades of business experience. So during this career journey, what type of lessons that you learned that help you change your or shift your professional career?
Okay, so first lesson learned comes from my mother. And she would say to my brothers and myself when we started working for the business, first in, last out. And we practiced what we preached. We would be in early. We were, we weren't just managers. We were workers in the business. My second lesson, kind of an interesting little twist, is I got fired by my father one day. And he called me into his office, and he said we were fighting about him. Again, this was generational. We were trying to push for some new things. He was being resistant. I was probably pushing a little too hard. And he called me into his office, and he said, "This isn't working." And this is, mind you, we've been working together for like 20 years at this point, so it's not like yesterday. It's not like it just started. And he said, "This isn't working. I think you have to leave." That I would break down and say, no, and I got up and I walked down. I said, "Okay." And my brothers were just beside themselves. They were like, "You got to go and you got to apologize. You got to say you're sorry." And I said, "I did nothing wrong. I'm not apologizing." Well, my father called me Friday. This was on a Friday. He called me on Friday night and said, "Maybe we should talk." And he said, "Come in on Monday." Now, that in itself is a lesson. He was going to bring me back, but he wasn't going to bring me back tomorrow. He's going to make me suffer through the weekend. But when I walked into the office on Monday and we sat down and we had a conversation, we were man to man, and we were honest with each other. And our relationship changed at that moment. And I like to say we became peers. At that point in the office, I stood up for myself. He respected that. And I was no longer just his son, but I had earned the position of being his peer. And our life was wonderful ever after that. And I did not get fired ever again from him.
How about you then? Any
So,
lessons learned in your career?
yeah, so one of the lessons I learned that I try and impart on my clients is I take them through the journey of improving their processes. When I speak to the people who are not on the top of the management chain, but more the worker bees, a lot of times I'll ask them things like, "So, do you feel like you're overworked? Do you feel like you have enough help, enough resources?" And many times, as you can imagine, the answer is, "Yeah, I'm overworked. I don't know what to do. I got to get it done. Who else is going to help me? And I said, well, you have a manager, and their role is to help you. So, but they're not going to come to you and say, "Oh, I see you're overworked. I see you're stressed. Let's see what we could do." A great manager will. Most managers will let you sweat, and I call it being part of the problem as opposed to part of the solution. So I try and impart my wisdom by telling them, you have to cry uncle. You have to tell them, is it, what do you want me to do first? What's more important? How should I do this? Instead of you taking the burden on by yourself. And that goes all the way up to the top. Multitasking is a great thing, but understanding what you're, again, being held accountable for, when you can do it and how you would do it is very important. And again, being part of that solution is going to help you grow.
One of our missions in our podcast is to share educational content, informative content with our audience. We have a lot of young professionals listening to us, watch our podcast pretty much every week. So, in this context, what is your take about internship programs for next generation professionals and workforce to prepare themselves for their career path? Jamie?
Well, again, as I said earlier, work somewhere else, especially again in a family business. Get experience outside of your normal world. Learn. It's all about learning, and so learn from the best and learn from others, so that you can better yourself and you can better your organization. As far as internships and things, I did that through my college years. I did work at a couple of other companies and had some experience. The interesting thing there is it's a world of different when you work for somebody or when you work in your own business. And so get the experience, learn about, work somewhere else, understand what it's like to be the employee before you become the employer.
Then,
Yeah, what I would say is um, when you're out there and you're given an opportunity, you should take the opportunity. But when taking it, you should go on what we call a listening tour. Go out there and hear from others, um, what they say and what they do. You're not, you're never too big to learn. You're never too old to learn. So listen and learn. My father-in-law would always say, God gave us 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. So close your mouth and listen with your ears. And that's some great advice.
yeah, it sure is, definitely, definitely. Thank you for that. Well, here comes our last question in our podcast episode. So, for those who are having family businesses or who are planning to start a family business or about to get into a family-owned business, do you have any career advice for them in general?
Um,
Jamie?
um, I think Dan was starting with don't, but I think the greatest honor in my life was the opportunity to work with my father side by side and work with my brothers. And the goal at the end of the day, now we've sold that business a few years back. My brothers and I have all now uh, moved into different paths. But my mother always said, you're a family. And her biggest concern is when we did sell that company and we did go in different directions, that we still were brothers. And so to this day, we're football fans. So we get together on a Sunday and we watch a football game together. We're at Thanksgiving, we're at holidays. Um, so it's the greatest joy to my mother to see that my brothers and I continue that relationship, even though we're not. Because we used to see each other every single day. And then we see each other at night for good dinner. So it's crazy. But her greatest joy is seeing that we're still doing that.
Amazing. How about you, Dan? Any career advice?
And I would tell any, family that's coming together that, as you embark on your journey, remember it's a business, and to separate business from personal, because that will make you more successful.
Well, understand the separation that you have to carry between
True.
the two. But remember that at the end of the day, that business is the family.
Yes. Yes. It's all connected. It's amazing. It's an amazing experience. And thank you both for being with us today and sharing your insights. Before we end our episode, would you like to share your contact information with our audience in case they'd like to reach out to you?
Oh, well,
Best way.
first, man, and I'll talk about it. You can reach me at Jamie, Jamie, at pspturnkeysolutions.com. And we're happy to find the issues, identify the problems, and provide the solutions. So Dan and I are always ready, willing, and able to help.
How
And
about
for
you,
me,
Dan?
D Stieglitz, you can see it on the screen, STIEGLITZ at casww.com. And for sure, we're here to help. We love to transfer knowledge. We love to educate. I consider myself, and I think Jamie does as well, as educators, not necessarily as consultants, but we like to do knowledge transfer and help people grow.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Dan, for being with us in your busy schedule. And thank you for sharing your insights. And looking forward
Thank you
to
for
seeing
having.
you. Of
Thanks
course.
Thank you for
Pleasure.
having us.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you very much. Well, great. We had another informative podcast episode together. I hope you liked the podcast today. The episode with Dan and Jamie, we talk about family businesses as well as how to address those challenges that typically family-owned businesses face. Also, thank you to all of you for supporting us on YouTube. We had our first 14,000 YouTube subscribers and it's increasing on daily basis. We truly appreciate your support. If you haven't done so, please visit our YouTube channel, American Business Podcast for the Next Generation ABP YouTube channel. Please subscribe, like. Your support mean a lot to us and we are motivated. We bring you new educational, informative business podcast content every week. And we have a great schedule coming up in coming months as well. Also, if you have an idea that you like us to share and address in our podcast episodes, you can reach out to us, americanbusinesspodcast@gmail.com. If you like to be a guest and share your wisdom, share your professional insights with us in one of our episodes, you can also send us an email. I also thank our sponsors. Without our sponsors, these podcasts wouldn't happen. So we truly appreciate our sponsors as well. If you'd like to be a sponsor, if you're interested, you can also send us an email, americanbusinesspodcast@gmail.com. If you visit our website, americanpodcast.tv, you can also see our coming episodes. We have a schedule that we publish every week for the coming episodes. And you can also see our YouTube channel, the link to our YouTube channel, Spotify, Amazon Music as well. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your support. Looking forward to seeing you, having you at our coming podcast episodes. Have a great day.
Do you want to grow your business? We help you grow your business. Today, we are excited to invite you to the Connectional America exclusive business networking event, powered by the fast-growing, popular podcast, the American Business Podcast for the Next Generation ABP. This exclusive business networking event is an online event. You can connect online anywhere in the world. Join us. Meet with business professionals, executives, and leaders. Introduce yourself, your company, your products, and your services to other businesses. Make meaningful business connections, expand your professional network, and grow your business. This exclusive business networking event will be moderated by the founder and host of the American Business Podcast, Kevin Devecioglu. Limited seating. Register today. Visit www.americanpodcast.tv to register today. Registration link is listed in description as well. Attendee contact list will be shared. We help you grow your business. Hope to see you there. Register today.
Hello, this is Kevin Devecioglu from the American Business Podcast for the Next Generation, ABP. I would like to personally invite you to the Connectional America Business Networking event that will take place in May 2025. Please join us and make meaningful business connections. Connectional America will run virtually. You can connect from anywhere in the world as well as from North America and the United States. I hope you can join us. Please sign up, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Connectional America Business Networking event. Thank you very much.
Support for the American Business Podcast for the Next Generation ABP comes from the Marvelous CRM software. The Marvelous CRM software is an AI-powered marketing and business development software. It is for small and mid-sized companies. You can manage your prospects, customers, contacts. You can manage your sales pipelines to increase revenue. You can send unlimited emails. You can also manage and schedule your social media accounts. Moreover, the Marvelous CRM software helps you design your company websites, online stores, and event registration websites on the same platform. The Marvelous CRM software brings you a customer portal for you to manage your customers and members. The Marvelous CRM software is modern, easy to use, secure, and affordable. Subscribe today and close more deals. This is the American Business Podcast for the Next Generation, ABP, with Kevin Devecioglu. ABP is a popular business podcast with thousands of subscribers on YouTube. The American Business Podcast community is growing fast. Thank you for your support. Subscribe ABP's YouTube channel today. The American Business Podcast is coming to you from the center of the global business world, New York City. With new educational business content is coming to you every week. Visit the official website for more information and corporate sponsorship opportunities at www.americanpodcast.tv today. To be a guest at the American Business Podcast, email us at americanbusinesspodcast@gmail.com.